Welcome to Season 5 of the Be Your Own Kind podcast, where we interview individuals that are basking in the lane they have created. To keep up with all things BYOK, visit our website at beyourownkind.com. While there, stop by the BYOK shop to grab our merch to add daily inspiration to your life. BYOK has also created a Facebook group that offers giveaways, business advice, and lots of laughs, and most importantly, sisterhood. Have time for a chat or to just get acquainted with your girl? Go to our site and click under bookings to set up a 30-minute coffee chat. Be sure to tune into the BYOK 2 Cents Live every Wednesday at 9:20 Central Standard Time on the BYOK platform YouTube channel, or you can listen to us on Fluent Radio at www.fluentradio.com. Last but not least, if you love our content, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and share our episodes. Or if you feel so inclined, send a donation to our PayPal at paypal.me/BYOK24. Thank you for rocking with us each season and enjoy the episode. Well, hello, the legendary Eros. Thank you for being on our platform today.
Thank you for having me. How are you, Renita?
I'm doing pretty good. Can you let the audience know a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Eros. I am an international spoken word artist, author, and poetic mentor around the city of Chicago. I am the host of Talk It Out Tuesdays, and just all around love aficionado. I have a message and a ministry of love, and I really focus heavily on the belief that no matter where any of us have fallen from or been through, that we are worthy of the love that we can imagine. So the love you have in your wildest dreams is the love that you're absolutely worthy of. And I try to manifest that in what I write and what I do and the conversations that I have with people every day. And hopefully, by the time this interview is over, I've proven that a little bit. We'll see.
Love it. I attended one of the Talk It Out Tuesdays, and I enjoyed it. I was so inspired. I was crying, hugging, laughing, angry. Like, it was so many emotions from everyone's poem. But it was like it felt like a healing though, because whatever I felt, it was a safe space for me to feel that.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed myself when I attended.
Yeah, we pride ourselves on that at Talk It Out Tuesdays. The Talk It Out Tuesdays family is, man, I wouldn't trade them for the world. Ebony, the bartender and all-around event manager, Elaine, who owns our space, DJ Rock, obviously the DJ, Tone, who's our security, Mama, who makes the tacos and also runs the door. We have a really powerful core of people and Talk It Out Tuesdays, and it's a family effort. So it's not just, me getting on stage hosting and doing my thing. Like, honestly, there's so many moving parts. Every single person of the Talk It Out Tuesdays team is incredibly important in that space, and each person just brings their own element. We all care about Talk It Out Tuesdays. We all take it very seriously. We promote it, and when we're in that space, it's family. It's the living room. And, we just want people to feel safe in there, and we feel safe with one another. So really, although it's an event that's open to the public, we're really inviting people into our energy, the family's energy, and you all get to just sit there and absorb that. And, but when you leave, the energy doesn't leave with you. Like, it stays at Talk It Out Tuesday. That space is very sacred to us.
I love that. I love that you use the living room, because I think back in my grandma's house, that was like the sacred room, right? Yeah. All the important things, only important things happen in the living room. You couldn't actually live in it. But when it was the holidays, we all congregated and we all laughed and we all whatever. And so I love that you use the you're a writer, the metaphor of the living room.
Yeah, I think the living room, like when all the family got together, that's when the kids was like, look what I can do. And they'll do something silly, you know what I'm saying? Or, they'll be like, oh, you need to hear Day Day sing this song. Like, you know what I'm saying? Girls, you can sing. And, they get up there and be, like, and singing from the top of their lungs and the family clapping and going crazy. And it's like you in the living room. Or the living room was a space where, we would watch movies together as a family. You know what I'm saying? It was just always this space of safety. And at Talk It Out Tuesdays, we kind of manifest that same energy where, we just want to create a place for people to stretch out, tell your truth, give a testimony. People have gotten up there and they just talk. Sometimes they share art, sometimes they sing, sometimes they do hip hop, sometimes they give a testimony. And that's what we want. My vision for Talk It Out Tuesdays is that it eventually becomes a place where those walls can't contain the power or the energy or the volume of the crowd. I want Talk It Out Tuesdays to be a safe space for everyone, and where we do an interchange of encouragement and sharing that the world needs. And I believe that we're well on our way there.
Yes. Tell people where it's located, times.
So it's every Tuesday at doors open at 7 p.m. We start the show at 8:30 p.m. promptly every single week. We're located in Hazel Crest at 17563 South Kedzie at a beautiful venue called Whippet Luxury Events. It's also an event that's available to rent. But on Tuesday nights, it belongs to the open micers. And so if you free after a Tuesday, after you get off work, after you feel stressed out, after you done worked and grinded all day, or dealt with the kids or paid the bills for a very small door fee, you come in and you just kick back, you relax, and you allow the poetry and the art to take your mind away from your problems for a second. It's a beautiful space for date night, or if you're a writer, a closet writer, or a performer, it's a good space to test out your pen. And that's what I love about open mics, because they're a place to work it out, right? Like a lot of people, especially in the Chicago poetry scene, there's so much talent out there. And so a lot of times at some open mics you can go to, you might feel a little intimidated to jump up on the stage and perform your piece or to share your story, because there's so much talent. You kind of feel like you're competing. It's like a silent competition, but at Talk It Out Tuesdays, that's not the case. At Talk It Out Tuesdays, it just feels like, we clapping for everybody. There's a lot of compersion in that room. So we clapping for whoever's around. Even if I'm not getting the claps, I'm still doing the clapping, because we're so happy that you're just sharing with us. And it's a powerful thing to be able to share. Like, we're in a world where people don't want to share things or thoughts sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Because of how people can be attacked for that. So, we're grateful.
Yeah, I love that, because you're right. A lot of people hold so much inside in fear of how they'll be received.
100%.
Yeah. So, I don't know if you mentioned this, but your latest project, the Love Her album, which is found on all of the music platforms, correct?
It is.
Okay. First of all, I loved it. I listened to it a couple of times. What actually sparked like my excitement about it is the storyline as to the man thought that, he was actually doing his best, but it wasn't what she actually needed. So it's not that he was doing anything wrong. He just was doing what he thought that she needed versus what she actually needed. And I love that, because we can do all the right things and still fall short because we fail to learn how another person want to be loved. And I thought that was I just love the whole storyline behind that. Like, what was your inspiration behind that storyline?
Well, first of all, let me start off by thanking everybody who was a part of the Love Her project. Geronimo Speaks, who took creative management over that project, to K-Love, Hood Rags, Quest, Kales, Momentum, Bash the writer, Gator, who was the engineer on that project, Erica Edwards, who was the voice of the therapist in that project, and then Mashavu, who was my love interest on that project. Not only was Mashavu super instrumental in making the project come to life. She used her acting skills, her singing skills, and her creative management skills to help create this vision and bring it to fruition. So that's the first thing I want to do. I want to make sure I thank everybody who had anything to do with the project. It's a project that I'm extremely proud of, and I know that when I first came up with the idea that I wanted to drop something, to be honest and fully transparent, I did it because so many poets had projects out that I'm like, I really want to do something too. I want to put some poems together, and the spirit just kind of told me like, yeah, you could do that, but why? Right? Like, what are you trying to create? What's the impact you want to make? And honestly, I had no artistic vision. I just knew I wanted to drop something, and I started looking through my catalog of poetry, and like I spend a lot of time talking about love, but there's no real like direction here, but there is a pattern if you look closely. And what came out of this was this incredibly healing piece of art, right? And I started thinking about, all the things I talk about in my pieces, like what is the overall message? And the overall message, typically, if you listen to my poems, is about going from broken to healed, going from unloved to being loved, and self-discovery, which is the journey of learning self. And so then I thought about, well, I want to do a set of poetry that's not just for the romantic side of love. And there's a lot of like damage between men and women in the world. How can I kind of sum all that up? How can I still let them know I love them romantically and love them in other facets? And so then the thought just hit me like, what needs to happen for this piece to be powerful is that the genders have to heal. And how does that happen? Well, it can't happen with me as a man telling the world everything that's wrong with women today. And it can't happen with a woman telling the world everything that's wrong with men today. So it has to start with me. And so then I couldn't just focus on women as the significant other. How do you learn to love the entire essence of a woman? How do you love her when she's not your significant other? Maybe she's just your sister. Maybe she's your daughter. Maybe she's your grandmother, right? Mm-hmm. And when we can learn to love the entire essence of woman, it stops us from being so focused on being angry at the one facet of her that we've experienced in a way that may turn us off. Like maybe as your significant other, you not feeling her right now. But that doesn't mean the sister in her, the mother in her, the daughter in her, the grandmother in her, the aunt in her, the friend in her should be disrespected. There's so many facets to this one being that God has created. And so if we can learn to love the totality of her spirit, even when one part of that we're not vibing with, there's so many other parts to love. And how do we learn to really tap into that? And so this piece was just inspired by wanting to create that. My mother was such a beautiful woman, Ginger Bowie, a beautiful queen, and she's my mom has taught me so much, and she's just such a well of knowledge, and she spent so much time with me as a kid, telling me all the things and mistakes that she felt that men made when it came to handling women. And I used to sit at her feet like, tell me more, eating popcorn, so to speak. And she installed a lot of good traits in me, so many of that I use to this day, and I'm just really grateful that I had her growing up. And just because she taught me about ways to love women, she would not allow me to shortstop on being a good man either. She taught me masculinity to the extent possible. I had to learn a lot of the rest of it from other men that came into my life and, kind of took me up under their wing. But everybody, if they want anybody to thank for this project, really, they should thank my mother. That was a very long-winded answer, but I just wanted to make sure that I tapped into everybody that I feel really and truly deserves the credit for creating such a beautiful project that I still listen to myself to this very day.
I love that. I mean, it was so much in it, like so much. I feel like it was so much effort and it was personal.
Yeah.
So I love hearing the journey of that, because as I was listening to that, it made me think of my own marriage. It tapped into, wait, I know women is always saying, well, I want to be loved this way, but am I loving my husband like he wants to be loved? It goes both ways.
That's it right there. That's it.
I'm demanding, but am I meeting any of his needs while I'm so focused on my needs? And so I feel like it unlocked that in my brain, and instead of me doing what I felt he needed, I also asked him, hey, babe, what do you need, and such and such and such. And so I feel like that just, I don't know. I feel like it's a ministering to relationships in a sense to that. And also, not only being patient with your own healing, but someone else's. So that really sparked something inside of me.
Yeah, real. That's real.
Yeah. So some of my favorites, we're gonna get into it. Was I'm saying it wrong. Embarrassingly in Love. I actually heard you say that you recited in public as well. So it was amazing. Movie Time Love and Intentional Intimacy. Like, I felt like those three define like classic love, not like today's social media love, like classic love, like where I may never post a picture, but I'm thinking of you all day. Like a movie of you is running inside my head all day. Like, I love the concept of that. Like, that's the kind of love that I seen my parents with their different, marriages, like experience and things of that sort versus what it is now, where it's like, I don't know. Here's a question. This is our subject. So there's a question circling social media about the balancing of masculine and feminine energies in the relationship. And so a lot of men are speaking up and saying, I feel like women have more masculine energy than feminine energy. Could you kind of balance that or tone some of that masculinity down? How do you feel about that? Or what are your comments on that?
Well, I think society kind of dictates our thoughts on so much that it's difficult for us to really know what is and what isn't masculine or feminine nowadays, because we live in a world that creates all the definitions for everything. And so we spend our time, like, no one's ever sat down when you were a child, no one told you like specifically like these are masculine traits, these are feminine traits. People really told you like, you acting like a little girl, or you a tomboy. And that's really what people heard. But it was describing actions. Like if you were a boy who, didn't want to go outside and get dirty, then you were acting feminine, is what they told you back then. Or if you were a girl who always hung with boys, you were acting like a tomboy, you were masculine. But now the world is like, oh, women have masculine energy, or men are too feminine nowadays, or whatever. I think that this is the reality. We are made up 50% masculine, 50% feminine, all of us. And so in terms of where our traits are dominant, I believe that it's really about the way that we've been raised. And so there are women who may be, I guess, from a social perspective, masculine. And for some men, that might not be a problem at all. Then there are men who may be, slightly more, like, I guess, according to society, bending to the feminine side. And for some women, that's not a problem. And then it's the other way around. I think the real issue is that we spend so much time taking issue with an entire gender of people instead of just finding the right balance with our person. I try my best not to spend too much time thinking about what's the problem with everyone as a whole, and think about what's the problem with Eros. Like, what can Eros do to be a better man for the woman that I love? Versus what can all men do to be better with the women that they love? Because that's like locking me into a prison of, I have to now try to somehow figure out what appeals to every single person on earth, the balance between masculine and feminine. And it's impossible. It's completely impossible. There are leaders in what I do secularly that have been phenomenal. And there were women who were at the top. They were running things. They were the boss. They were in charge. And people say, oh, well, you running things, you're the leader. That's technically what they would consider a masculine thing. But no, it's not masculine, right? Like, it's a necessary energy. And women have been some of the best bosses I've ever had, right? So I think that it's important for people to just find their own lane. And when you find your own lane, you find the lane that mixes well with what you're looking for. And that way you don't have to worry about what's too masculine or too feminine. It's about what it is that you need. And I think when we fill the voids that way, then it's less talk. And people who, like for instance, if a person says you're too masculine, what does a woman do with that? What does she do? Does she somehow change her mindset on things just because she wants someone to be attracted to her? And if a man is told, "Oh, you too feminine," what does he do about the years of the mental makeup that he has? Does he change that in the hopes that now that he's acting like he's tough or acting like a man, somebody's gonna want him now? Like, what does that mean? So now he changes the entire identity of who he is. Maybe he doesn't like this new version of himself, but maybe other people do. But now he's had to betray who he feels he is at his core. For what? For love? It's identity issues. It's, it's what is it called? What's the term I'm looking for? It's the term is escaping me. It's the term for, it's imposter syndrome. People trying their best to be something that they're not, and in hopes that other people will like them. And so I just say, be as masculine or as feminine as you are. And if you want to get better, be that, get that, but don't do that out of the hopes that this will make you more eligible to people. I think that's insane.
Yeah, most definitely. And your people's going to draw to you no matter where you are on whatever scale. Like, if you have to change yourself to be in the circle, that's not your circle. That's just how it is.
Now, and I do believe in evolving. I think that people should try their best to level up. Like, you should try there is the idea that I ain't changing for nobody. I think that's also secretly dangerous. This is where balance is at its best at. Right. Because although you're not required to necessarily change for the world, you don't have to do that. But leveling up, getting better, learning conflict resolution, how to have conversations, how to deal with your frustrations and your anger, and how to step up and how to learn how to take a step back. All those are very powerful things to do, instead of having the mindset like, you know what, well, this is just me and I am who I am and it is what it is. That's a horrible way to look at life. But to your point, you should still have the idea that I'm going to inherently be who I am. Right? I'm going to be now there's levels, right? Like, there's a better version of me that's here, and I'm always reaching and attaining that. Right. But in terms of now me trying to become him, that will never happen. Nor will I ever attempt to.
Right.
And that tribe will find me.
Right.
And I'll be okay with that.
Yeah, I love what you're saying. I struggle with that, which is why my whole thing is called Be Your Own Kind. I struggle with trying to fit in circles and this and that, and it was stressing me out, and I didn't know who I was, all types of stuff, and then I realized, hey, I'm enough for me, and that doesn't mean I don't keep, like you say, sharpening tools, don't keep working on communication, my emotional intelligence. I go to the therapist, all types of stuff I do, to make sure that I'm elevating. However, like you said, there are just certain things that's not my personality. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, within me. And so just to piggyback off the feminine and masculine question, I guess in my head, I was raised by a single mother, essentially. So when I was married, I was mostly like, I'm in charge of this. I can do this. I don't need you. Like, I was literally single while married. Like, I wasn't being a team player, and I felt like that might have been a part of this question with the masculine energy. Or it could just be, that's just how I was raised for the most part, but I had to learn during the years to just soften up a little bit. I have a whole nother partner over here and I'm doing everything by myself. And I think that's where that question kind of sparked on social media. Like, what do women really need men for? Because they're so taking control. And, if I wanted somebody so hard, then, I would be with a man. That's some of the statements, which I think is far-fetched.
So I think women respond. I think some women respond. Okay, we're all responsible for ourselves. That's the first and foremost thing.
Right.
I've been in relationships where I felt that the woman was more independent, smarter, and better driven than I was. Mm-hmm. And I took a back seat because I wasn't on her level. And then I've been in relationships where I was at the top of my game and I was responsible for bringing the woman that I was with up. I think that there is a space that a lot of men would prefer a woman to allow them room to lead. But I think that sometimes women have seen, one, there's an upbringing of a survival of the fittest mentality, and a man who's not unsure. For women who thrive on safety and security, that's a turnoff. So then she feels like, okay, I gotta do it because ain't nobody else gonna do it, right? That's the mindset. And so if a woman has that mindset with a man, typically it's because there's very little trust in him. She may not want to say it. She may not want to hurt his feelings. She may not want to express that to him. But if she's taking the lead in everything, it's because she don't trust you. And if she doesn't trust you, maybe she hasn't given herself a chance to trust you, because you may take that personally. Like, well, what have I done for her not to trust me? It may not even be you. It may be the fact that her aunties told her, girl, don't lean on no man for nothing. You ain't never gonna need to depend on no man. So she done heard this all her life. So now she get with a guy who is on his game and he doing things the right way. And auntie words just ringing in her ear. Like, don't you trust the man for nothing. Even if he doing well financially, you gotta have your own. Don't quit your job, girl. These men let you quit your job and all that. That's in her ear. She been hearing that since she was 5 years old. Now she's 29. Now she's 35. Right? And she got a great guy who go out, work every day, taking care of the bills. And when he say, hey, babe, we want to put the money in this account and we want to do this like this. Not my money. This is my money. I work for this. You can put your money there. And it's like now there's this independence, this separation, right? Because they come from a generation of women who depended on men for years to take care of their homes, and these men did, but they had other families, they had other situations. Some of these men died, some of these men left them broken, penniless. And so then the lesson they learned was, don't ever put your trust in a man. We feed this to our children grow up and they nurture into that spirit, and so now they become that. This is the after effect of those broken hearts. So if it ain't coming from a healed place, it's gonna hurt somebody. I always say that.
I love that. I love that. So you have a real strong name here. You named yourself after love, and not just a normal love, like a passionate love. What even sparked your interest about speaking on love and even taking it to the next level of naming yourself after that?
Yeah, my mother was the first example I'd ever gotten of love in my life. The way my mom loved me was extremely powerful. And love, man, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like love. And I always feel like everything in life goes back to love. No matter what people say, I prefer loyalty over love and all this foolishness. There is nothing greater than love. I don't care what anybody tells you. There's nothing greater than love. Love is the only trait in the Bible that God is considered to be. God is love. That's it. That's it. They don't say God is strong or strength or God is patience. The Bible specifically says God is love, though. You can acquire wisdom, you can acquire knowledge, but the greatest of these is love. And so then how do you manifest that? How does that come to pass? Well, love is the greatest motivator on earth. Now, hatred can also be a motivator, but love is lasting. Love is kind, it's gentle, it hopes all things, believes all things, endures all things. Love never fails, but hatred can. Hatred can be stopped, but love can never fail. Love literally believes all things. And I was just talking with this to my brother Geronimo the other day. I asked him, I said, why do you think people, who's your closest friend? You don't have to say the name, but just think of them.
Okay.
If this friend brought a story to you and told you something traumatic that happened to them, how likely do you think you are to believe that what they're telling you is the truth?
Very likely.
Now think about your worst enemy, somebody that you just really can't stand at all. You ain't got to say the name, just keep it in your head. You got somebody?
Yes.
If they came to you and told you a story about one of your friends that was a negative story, how likely do you think you'd be to believe this person that you don't care for?
I'm not.
Probably not at all.
No.
And the reason why is because you love one person and you don't really rock with the other. Love believes all things. So your friend who you love doesn't got to do much to convince you that they're telling you the truth. You love them so much. And the more you love them, the more likely you are to believe them. Which is why when we love people, they're in the most powerful position to also betray us. Because love, when it's betrayed, it's like, you don't rock my whole world. Because love believes all things. And the more you love a person, the easier they are to believe, right? But on the other side of that, love also covers a multitude of sins. There are things that people we love do to us that we just overlook. But let somebody else waste your time. You be ready to, I was over there, I canceled that job interview and the manager wasn't there. People go off because they don't have no love for you. And because of that, it's like we have a thinner patience with them. People tell you like, so-and-so do this to you all the time. I do it one time, you gonna snap on me? Like, what's, right. And we don't want to say like, well, I love them, but that's what it is. So love, man, is so necessary. And I've always been a little bit different when it comes to the way that I've loved people and the way that I see the world. And I feel like hatred has such a powerful agenda right now. And hatred is doing so well. It is alive and well right now. So love needs a platform. And as long as God gives me air in my lungs to talk about it, I'm going to continue to remind people to let love lead always. And I think that the more people we can get on this train, to really start speaking and manifesting love, the better the world will be, and I just want to leave the world in a better place that I found it in, I just want people to know that, you're worthy of being loved. No matter where you've been through, no matter what you've done, you deserve love.
I love that, because you can't out-sin God's love. I remember reading that quote, there's nothing you can do more or less to have God's love. And I believe that's true for some of the people in our lives as well. Like you said, when we give people a pass because of the level of where we love them. And you had me thinking, yeah, you're right. It's not even.
Yeah. Not even close.
No, it's not. I think my favorite verse of 1 Corinthians 13, because I think that's what you were quoting, is love doesn't keep records of wrong.
Doesn't keep account of the injury. That's right. Now that's how if you want to test your love, see how quickly you can bring up all the mistakes a person made to you. And if they be like, so-and-so be hurting you too. And you like, no, they don't. This person probably, like, if you've been close to them for a year or two, they've made some mistakes. But love don't keep account of the injury. But betrayal does, heartbreak does, hatred does, sadness does. But that's why we got to continue to focus on love. Right? Like it has to be like our language. It has to be what we speak. It is the pure language. Even when somebody lies to you and you love them, like you probably got a family member that always be lying, and you probably be like, they always lying. But if you love that family member, you still listen to their stories. You know why?
Because you love them.
Well,
and you've accepted that they lie.
Right, even though they lie. He's like, they go again. But you still listen. And the reason why is because love also hopes all things. And you hope they telling you the truth this time. It's so powerful. It's such a powerful gift that God has given us. It's so powerful. So, we just got to tap in.
Yeah, you're right. Because I'd rather believe you every time than you telling the truth that one time. And I don't believe you and then I'm not there. Yeah. Oh, you got me all emotional thinking about people. All right, so
it's real.
I love it. It is real. I'm getting all teary-eyed thinking of some people. So who are some of your biggest poetic influences and how have they impacted your work? I know you mentioned your mom as one of those people, but who else has impacted your work?
Well, I use different poets for different things. So from a wordplay perspective and just telling the truth about like kind of where I'm from, I love Geronimo Speaks, one of my favorites, just because I love the way Geronimo plays with words to tell his story. Really, really talented. He's got a poem called PTSD where he uses the acronym PTSD and describes it in so many different ways. Like he says, posted, trapping, selling drugs, popping text, squeezing deserts, pardon the sinning deacon. Like he drops it so many different ways, and it's just so absolutely amazing to me. Another one of my favorite influences is K-Love. And I love K Love's poetry because she spends so much time on transparency and authenticity. And I absolutely love the way she tells her real story, her real feelings about everything she's been through, in a way that isn't fake or phony. She doesn't say things just for the claps or just for people to snap. She says it because that's who she really is. I'm a big fan of hers. Robin Bobo, also phenomenal writer, phenomenal speaker. And I could go down the list. Jason Williams, probably one of the coolest poets I've ever seen to do it. Brendan Alexander Williams, crazy with the wordplay. Obi West, crazy with the messages and the wordplay. Amir Suleiman, who was a very heavy with the messages type of poet. And like, I mean, the list goes on and on. I have so many influences in Chicago, out the city, different states, all over the world that I've watched. I grew up watching deaf poetry as a kid. And when I got older, I told myself, like, one day I'm going to be on that show and I'm going to, do poetry all around the world. And through the grace of God, that's become a possibility for me and my reality. So I'm grateful.
I love that. I love that. This is what I always wonder about spoken word orators. The memory. It's the memory for me. How you guys can remember everything and still say it with such I feel like that is a gift, because if I write something and I have to memorize it, it will not be recited. Like it's just how you guys can just remember those words and have an impact. Like I heard you say in the Embarrassedly in Love poem more than once, and every time it still had an impact. You know, and I'm just like, that is such a gift to reach somebody, even with the same words, a different way.
Yeah, I think that comes from how much you believe in what you're saying, what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. If you don't really have any conviction in the piece, then it's not going to really hit the same way. Like, for instance, there's a poem I wrote called P.S. Love You to Death. And I don't know if you recently heard the story about the young woman who shot and killed her husband. This happened
on social media?
On the live.
Yeah.
This is the poem I've done. It was a commission poem that I wrote for an event before. But I also firmly believed everything I put into this poem. And right after this story came out, I did this poem at an open mic, and you could hear a pin drop in the room because the message was so timely. And I was genuinely involved in this piece. Like, it was like almost like God had written it for this time, right? And the poem is all about toxic energy and the way that we pretend to love one another when really we know that we're bad for each other, right? What we do to one another. In fact, I think I'm gonna probably just say the poem. I might as well just probably spit it for you while we on the live, right?
Sure.
It's not a long piece, so I'm gonna just get to it. But it goes, we say we love each other, but we be so wrong. We check into toxic rooms and we extend our stay for so long. Delayed checkouts. We find ourselves sleeping late in places we hate. We both crave a love that we know we ain't. And what's crazy is the way that we place the blame for that on one another, because it's easier than blaming self. I mean, why would we hold ourselves accountable when it's so convenient to just accuse someone else? Our hearts go dark before the lights go out. It's ironic how we lie to each other every time we lie down. We utter I love yous, and I swear this is the best sex I've ever had. We scream love songs to a heart we'll never have. Every time sex gets added, our hope for love gets subtracted. The math never maps. It's like a quicksand of emotion. Every time we vow that this time I ain't finna show no emotion, our hearts get more broken, like some idiotic joke. And I wish I was joking, but I'm not. It feels hopeless. And I was hoping that maybe just this once we could discuss us without the disgust. Disgust what sits at the core of us. The promises we made to ourselves when no one was looking at us. I'm looking at us. I mean, look at us. We are fighting to stop fighting. We hate our own hearts. The Bible says, till death do us part, but we must be deaf to that part, because this relationship, it been dead, but we still don't part. Like even post-mortem, we will rip each other apart. This is what happens when the damage takes advantage. When we choose our feelings over our healing, don't you find it silly that no matter how high we get, we hit the same ceiling? We be suspects and victims. You tell me what hurt you, and I'm gonna tell you what hurt me. We rush to dump our pain with urgencies. We just become hospital rooms for each other's emergencies, emerging energies of betrayal and deception. We emit passive-aggressive comments. We become convicts, serving life sentences for incidents we didn't commit, but we keep coming back to the same we flies to it. The pull is so strong, you could roll it up and get high to it. It wakes us up in the morning and we say hi to it. And we should have said goodbye. But it is too late. We are too far gone. We have nothing left. We are in relationships taking everything from each other, even our last breaths. We should be happy though, I guess. After all, we did vow to love each other to death. And that's the poem.
Oh, wow.
So it's super heavy, of course, but it's also so fitting. And your relationship doesn't have to be traditionally toxic. And what I mean is like physically and verbally abusive. Sometimes it could just be the way that you refuse to acknowledge your own issues. Take responsibility for your own actions. Hold yourself accountable. Think about all the times that you've broken what you said and how high we hope people will stand to a standard of what we're not even living up to, right? And I'm connected to that poem because I've both experienced it, right? So it's easier to write about it. And I think as a poet, the more genuine you are when you're writing your poem, the easier it'll be for you to memorize it. The easier it'll be to keep that same energy. Because this is relevant and it ain't going nowhere. So that's how I see that.
Yeah, timeless. Wow, I'm sorry, I'm coming back from that poem. It kind of just reminded me of relationship with self. Because you can do all those things with yourself.
Yep. That's real.
You just trauma bonding with you, which is dangerous.
Yep.
Because it's technically the same trauma, but it's different sides to it. You're rationalizing it. Oh my God. Okay. That was amazing.
Thank you, Corey. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. That's what I'm saying. Impact. You know, because people can say words and people can get on stage, but not everybody have impact. That makes
to God be the glory. To God be the glory.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay. Eros, don't be trying to mess with my man today. So So what advice would you give someone that wants to start exploring, spoken word? Where do they begin? Where do they start?
Well, start by writing and start by going to open mics. Give yourself permission to get out there and share your work. If you don't do that, it's going to be incredibly difficult for you to get comfortable on the stage and to start, really getting into the art of spoken word poetry and then challenge yourself. I think what we're seeing on the poetry scene now is we're seeing a lot of new artists, and I think it's great and phenomenal, but we're also watching artists with entourages. And I think that that's cool to have people in your corner cheering for you. But if you're so focused on the cheers and the claps, you'll never stretch your pen to get better. So in order to get better, be around poets that are better than you. Be around poets who have been doing this for a while and who are really heavy on the art and the craft, and tell them to be brutally honest with you. But before you ask for that, pray that you're in a position to receive it, right? Because some poets are going to give you the raw, and it may not be something you want to hear. You may say, well, I think it's good because everybody else likes it. But if you genuinely want to really stretch your pen and get out here and start performing and make it an impact, then you got to be willing to take real feedback. K Love just dropped a phenomenal 12 to 15 steps of advice for poets. I thought it was absolutely incredible. And I think that you should do that. If you want to get paid for poetry and you want to start speaking life into rooms, then you got to be that too. Right? I can't go around telling the world love, 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 love. And I'm out here shooting people on weekends. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't work. So the other thing I would tell a poet is be who you really are. You know what I'm saying? Be your own kind, even, right? Like to the name of this podcast, just be your own kind. Be you, because the world needs you. And so don't get on stage and try to be Geronimo or Eros or whoever. Just be who you are. And I think that that'll go a long way.
I love that. I love that. That's good advice. So whatever you do, be you.
100%.
Yeah, because that's the one thing that no one else has.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
I love that. So here's the secret question. So at BYOK, we have a staple question, and that question is: if you can describe yourself in one word, what would it be and why?
Love. That was almost too easy. It was like a
Yeah,
slam
that was
dunk, like an
easy for
alley-oop.
you. Yeah.
And why? Because because I believe in me, I hope in me. I endure with me. I don't keep account. I try my best not to keep account of my own injury. I'm kind. I'm gentle. I'm patient. I find myself to exude love, and even when I'm not perfect at it, I'm always striving to be. I just want to be a shining light to the world. I just want people to remember when they were around me. And I hope that I have enough love that makes people, not hold on to my mistakes. And I try to be an example by not holding on to theirs. Sometimes I fall short, but love is something I'm always striving to exude. And if the Bible says in the same text in 1 Corinthians 13, I think this is verse 9 starts with this, where it says, whether there are gifts of tongues or gifts of prophesying, they will be done away with. And it says, if you don't have love, you are a sounding piece of cymbal, right? So you're just a clashing sound that irritates the ears. And I don't want to irritate the ears. I want to move the spirit. And so I pray that in all things that I do, that I'll touch people's hearts. So,
Mission accomplished. You do that. You do exactly that.
Thank you.
You do exactly that. Is there how can people reach you or keep up with your events or your latest projects?
Well, please follow me. You can find me on Instagram at _Prince of Poetry. You can Google me, Eros the Prince of Poetry. You can find my books on Amazon, exclusively on Amazon right now. You can also exclusively on Amazon in terms of a large big box retailer, but you can also find them on my website at www.erosthepoet.com. That's also where you can feel free to look to book me. I just dropped a new clothing line of shirts called The Look of Lovers LLC. And it's a apparel that basically manifests and attracts love. So it's all love affirmations, all about love, all about, focusing on love. So shirts that talk about love, period. Love understands, love over everything. And when love lives, hate flatlines. And so you all can just follow me, feel free to connect with me. Let's just start some conversations and get more lovers out there.
Love that, love that, love that. I'm just honored that you took out the time out of your busy schedule to be on our platform today.
Sure.
This has just been an amazing experience, and like I said, you are exactly who you are. Like love, like I feel that in every word that you recite. Even just having a conversation with you and like speaking with you one-on-one, you are everything that you put out to be, and that's very rare.
I try to be.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, I always kind of cringe sometimes when, people compliment me like that, because I'm human.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to make sure that I'm always clear about that. I think sometimes we get big on our own minds and we start wearing a persona more than we wear the person. And I don't want anyone to think that I've somehow arrived. I'm a work in progress. I just know what I want to be. Right. And what I want to be is love. And I'm going to fall short of that frequently. But I want to motivate people to want to be the best versions of themselves. Like, be the best lover that you can be. And if you see that in me right now, then I'm very grateful. It means I've done something right. But if you don't see it in me, just know I'm working on it. And like I'm really trying to get great at this. and I'm gonna make mistakes, but I just want people to to know that it's worth trying. You know, so
Yeah, most
yeah.
definitely. Most definitely. Listeners, you have been part of the Love Hour. And we're just grateful for Eros once again for gracing our platform and breaking down, so many facets of love in this project. And I'm so excited to just see your future as I see you elevating, I see you all over social media, and I just love that for you.
Thank you.
And listeners, look, remember to be kind to yourself. Love on yourself a little bit more, love on others a little bit harder. And until next time, bye.
Peace.